President, and I want to rise in support of Senator Pocock today and congratulate and thank him for first pursuing this OPD and continuing to pursue the government's non-compliance with the Senate's orders, because this is an issue of gross hypocrisy for those opposite, who, as Senator Pocock correctly pointed out, when they were on this side of the chamber, were incredibly vocal about the importance of transparency, and not just that, but promised to do better. Promised to be the most transparent government ever, promised to uphold the standards of the chamber and important integrity and transparency measures like FOIs and orders for production of documents. It has led independent, respected institutions like the Centre for Public Integrity to conclude that this government is objectively, measurably, far worse when it comes to transparency than the government that they replaced, the Morrison government, of which they were so critical. That's a comparison that I know the Prime Minister would be particularly sensitive to, because he was highly critical of the former Prime Minister Morrison when it came to transparency. But as the Centre for Public Integrity has shown in their recent report, the Morrison government complied with 48.7% of Senate OPDs in its final term, whereas the Albanese government only complied with 32.8% of OPDs in their first term, and I confidently predict in this term they will do even worse if these first few months are any guide. As the Centre for Public Integrity warned, and I quote, "These actions suggested a deliberate effort to avoid scrutiny. The Senate is being blocked from fulfilling its constitutional role of holding the government to account, and this trend is dangerous to democracy." That's right. And it is not just hypocrisy on the part of the government in general, but I'm sorry to say by Senator Gallagher, the Minister for Finance in particular, because again, as Senator Pocock pointed out, when Senator Gallagher was in opposition, when she was in a different position, she had a very different view when it came to the question of whether cabinet documents were carte blanche, exempt from being provided under OPDs, or whether indeed governments were required to specify when a document could not be provided. As Senator Pocock already quoted, and as I want to add to the record as well, as chair of the Senate Select Committee on COVID-19, on which I served with Senator Gallagher, she made the following remarks in the second interim report of the committee, and I quote, "The disclosure of the deliberations of Cabinet has achieved a measure of acceptance as a basis for claiming public interest immunity. However, such claims must be accompanied by sufficient detail to enable the committee to determine the specific merits of each claim on a case-by-case basis. Each claim must establish that disclosing the particular information requested would reveal Cabinet deliberations and cause harm to the public interest. It is not adequate to refuse to provide information merely on the basis that the information has a connection to Cabinet, as the government is attempting to do in this case." Senator Wong has been vocal about this issue in the past. In fact, something that is in some ways more sensitive, when a matter went to Cabinet and was considered by Cabinet, she objected to it being withheld in 2005 in a Senate estimates hearings. She said, "Questions about the timing of Cabinet discussions have been routinely asked and answered in estimates hearings and elsewhere, and that is difficult to see how a claim for immunity in this case could reasonably be made. In light of the advice, I ask again for the occasions on which the welfare to work package has gone to Cabinet between February and these hearings." Odgers is clear on this. Precedent is clear on this. Those opposite were clear on this when they were on this side of the chamber, but they are not now. And it is particularly odd that they are so reluctant to release the Briggs report, given that in the State of the Public Service Report 22-23, provided by the Australian Public Service Commissioner, Dr de Brouwer, he said, and I quote on page 91 of that report, quote, "The final report to the government is expected to be published in late 2023. That is almost 2 years ago now. The government committed to the release of the Briggs Review. And we are left to wonder, we are invited to speculate what is the reason they are refusing to release this document. Perhaps it is because one of their recent public service appointments made no attempt whatsoever to comply with best practice when it comes to public service appointments, one that is so outside the bounds of normal public service appointments and recruitment that this government would be very reluctant to be compared to their own report recommending best practice. I suspect this is an issue which we are all going to continue to have to pursue for some time.
Senator